Okay, so that's what. Yeah, right. For the property. They got nervous. Yeah. Well, and the only place. When did you send that? Today?
Oh, an hour ago or a couple hours ago. Oh, your home, your work is that?
Okay.
Your work. Because I figured you might be still working. Well, yeah, no. I should have said it. Shouldn't say it. I should go better. It's time.
I'll call our meeting order with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll take roll. Robert May's here. Fritz, otherwise known as High Business, here. Greg's here. Allison's here. Susan's here. Dave Eggers here, Steve Ivel's here, Barry is not here, apparently he fell again, and so hopefully he's on the mend. Ty is here, Borough Engineer, Reverend is here, Warren's here, John Solicitor here, Derek Roadmaster is here. Council minutes, there's before you see the minutes from our Thursday, January 12th, 2023 meeting, are there any corrections, clarifications, additions, or can the minutes be accepted as presented?
Motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion to accept the minutes as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Approval and payment of bills. Before you see expenditures as of February 7th, you'll see out of the general fund, $68,394.92. Sewer fund, $58,856.57. Fire tax fund, $0. Liquid fuels fund, $4,863.52. Is there any questions about any of the bills to be paid, or can there be a motion to pay bills as of expenditures as of February 7th?
Make a motion, we pay the bills as presented.
Second.
Motion been moved to pay bills as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Approval of treasurer's report. Before you will see a treasurer's report for the borough. I usually read off the end here once we get to it. So total cash available in general fund, we have $410,402.54. Total cash available in reserve account, $106,258.50. Total cash available in fire tax fund, $4,656.44. Total cash available in sewer fund accounts, $89,552.93. Total cash available in liquid fuel accounts, $227,446.96. Is there a motion to accept and file for audit the consolidated treasurer's report?
Second.
Motion has been moved to second. All those in favor for approval of the treasurer's report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Presentation by Lower Alsace Ambulance Association. Greetings.
Greetings. Hello, my name is Phil Salamone. I'm the Director of Operations for Lower Alsace Ambulance, joined today by our President, Matthew Saraker, along with Logan, who's along for the ride, because if you couldn't tell, I'm actually on duty right now. So if you hear a lot of beeping, it's, Matt's going to take over for me. Let me explain first why I'm here today, because you don't really see us come around here too often. Back at the end of December, I sent all the municipalities a letter, basically clarifying what's going on outside of our general coverage area. If you haven't caught the news, the organization that covers 911 calls for Amity Township, Union Township, and Borough has announced that they are going to be pulling out of that region because of inadequate funding. My fear was that this was going to be painted as, oh my God, we didn't expect this to happen, and basically cloud the actual conversation of what's going on. And basically what I wanted to do was put forth that we are in a stable position, that what you're going to hear in the media isn't what's reflective of the ambulance coverage that you currently have. But that's not to say that we do not have a serious problem on our hands. Ever since the Balanced Budget Act of 1997 that put forth a fee schedule for how ambulances are reimbursed, ambulance companies across the nation have been consistently losing funds year after year after year. Okay, I can make some very easy patient outcomes or situations where it is more cost effective for me to hand you $200 until you find your own ride to the hospital than it is for me to actually take you there. Okay, nearly every time that ambulance leaves the station, it is costing that organization money. In 2021, second year of the pandemic, we had a $60,000 budget surplus, okay, by the end of the year. Last year was nearly $80,000 deficit in 1 year. We have pretty much no managerial overhead. Matt and I both work full-time for the county of Berks, okay? And then we run the organization for the most part at nights and weekends. We have very, very little overhead. And that's not the same with the majority of any of the other ambulance companies that you have in this county. what we're trying to explain here is that this is a situation that's a community problem. And it's going to require a community solution. It is not to come here and say, I need X, Y, Z right now. You need to figure out what to do. But basically, to put this in your minds that we are in a dire situation. If we suddenly have a major expense like a heart monitor that goes bad, that's $30,000. A cardiac monitor costs about $30,000. Cost of an ambulance about $150,000 to $200,000. Cost of the stretcher is close to $20,000. If we have a major economic issue, we will be underwater. Because basically our funding right now is covering the cost of payroll, the cost of utilities, and keeping that ambulance on the street 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That is not the same for many other municipalities right now. Down in the areas that I had mentioned, there are times that there is no ambulance now. There are times when our coverage to the east, they don't even have a paramedic on the ambulance because of staffing shortages, because of payroll shortages. Where we don't have anybody new that's coming into this field. When I can go and apply to Rudders and start at $25 an hour and make more than I'm making as the director here, there's a big problem. Now, this is not your problem. It's a problem up much higher up in the The good thing is there is some hope on the horizon. So Medicare has increased their fee-for-service rate, the highest that they had ever done since the Balanced Budget Act, almost a 22% increase. Pennsylvania's medical assistants have also increased their rates. However, we still do not get paid for the first 20 miles that we transport. The reimbursement that we get from medical assistance is less than some of the medications that I need to administer. Glucagon costs $300 for me to administer. I don't get paid separately by the insurance for that. Medical assistance pays $280. That's it, flat pay. This isn't your problem. This is the problem of above. Medicare is also working right now because by their own admission, ambulance companies are receiving less than what it actually costs to provide service. So hopefully by 24, 25, we might actually see a legitimate fee schedule that will keep ambulances on the street. But when it comes time towards you beginning your budget talks for the next year, I want to make sure that we're in the back of your heads that, you know, the number one, that we have your support, and number two, that if we run into financial issues, that we potentially have you as a lifeline in that mix. I have already been to St. Lawrence Borough, or to your St. Lawrence. I've already been to Lower Alsace Township. I've already been to Mount Penn. We go to Alsace Township 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now. But we really are hoping for your help to keep this on the horizon, because we are one of the few ambulance companies that does not do non-emergency transports. Okay, so while the other ambulance companies are, when they have downtime and they're sending their ambulances out to go take people out of the hospital and take them home, we're still here. We're having to cover further than we've ever been before. We were down in Union Township the other day, covering calls. Okay, I've covered calls in Spring Township. I've covered calls in Foley. I've covered calls in Muhlenberg. We're getting called over and over and over again to all these other areas.
Is that mutual aid?
Yes, yes. So there is a countywide mutual aid agreement. If Kutztown suddenly, you know, if the next closest ambulance to Kutztown is Lower Alsace ambulance, well, number one, the county's got more issues than, you know, whatever the person in Kutztown needs. But we have a duty to respond to.
Does anybody monitor mutual aid and see how balanced it is?
I actually did a report with our mutual aid. So we went into Exeter Township, of all the mutual aid municipalities that we went to. So Exeter, the city of Reading, and other municipalities around. We went into Exeter 48% of the time that we weren't responding to in our own coverage area. And of the 3 years that I looked at, Exeter was the only one that showed an increase all 3 of those years. We've actually seen a decrease in Reading. We're not even going into Reading as frequently as we are.
As a general information for me to understand, of your coverage area, not including mutual aid, approximately how many calls percentage-wise is St. Lawrence Borough?
St. Lawrence is the highest. In fact, I was at the same property 5 times last night. Not the highest percentage. I'm sorry.
I could probably imagine that's is it the same patient 5 times? Or is it?
Yeah, excuse me. I apologize. I'm on 3 hours of sleep. You'll have to excuse me. As far as our primary coverage area, how much St. Lawrence? It's about 30. It's about 30% with Lower Alsace Township, 30% with St. Lawrence, 30% with Mount Penn, and then Alsace takes up the remainder of it.
And currently, right now, you have like a subscription service for like a household. There's like a higher rate at $60, and then you have a lower tier.
Also? Yes, at $35 for an individual, $60 for a full household.
Okay.
And what that affords, that now all the information is available on our website because there are some restrictions to it. But mainly if you have a copay or deductible at the end of your insurance bill, then we waive that as long as you're a member. There are some stipulations to that. So like if you call, 911 and your insurance company denied because they didn't feel it was medically necessary for you to call an ambulance. So like you stubbed your finger or you had a toothache. Believe me, I've had those calls.
What percentage of your income budget is funded by those household subscriptions?
I'd have to get back to you on that. It is a sizable amount.
Because I mean that hasn't gone up in recent years. I was surprised it was the same amount this year, but raising that probably would not put that big of a dent in the financial woes that you're talking about.
No, the big problem is with the insurance companies. That is so up until recently, the pandemic changed a lot of things. So if, let's say, heaven forbid, one of your family members was in cardiac arrest, okay, we showed up, we tried to get that heart beating, because that's what we're going to do. We're not going to transport until we try to get that heart beating again, okay, because the time taken, I'll spare you all the details. Depending on the insurance company, so I've used 3 rounds of epinephrine at about $5 a vial, IVs, surgical, advanced airways. Depending on your insurance company, they said, nope, you don't get a dime. And you can't recoup money from the patient.
So in general, we somewhat contract out services for police. We do that for refuse, garbage, that. And we make contributions to fire companies. But with your agreement with the other municipalities, is it just contributions, or is there some sort of, would you entertain a contract to provide services throughout St. Lawrence Borough boundary-wise for a lump sum fee? That would be
instead
paid
of soliciting,
and we would somehow pay on a quarterly basis.
That would be a decision that I'd have to take back to
your board.
But
and I'm not soliciting. We work well on unsolicited offers, but I'm telling you how my mind's thinking. And there's probably 660 structures in the borough. It's essentially family, we can't really discriminate against a business, so let's put 40 more. So numbers like 700. So let's say there's 700 potential addresses you may have to address or something like that. So, in my, I'm just a coal miner in my background, $60 covers a lot of not getting paid and stuff like that. So from our viewpoint, on this side of the table, the number would be somewhat less than $60 if you had a bulk user fee that you're going to get money. We tell the rest of the citizens we either enact a ambulance tax like we do fire, but we're limited to that. I think we're only allowed under borough code if you could have an EMS $500,000.
So we would have to either talk, it's an easy sell to people when you say this amount of your tax is going directly for this, because that's what we do with the flyer right now. But we are limited to that. So if the number is more than $500,000, then we have to raise regular taxes and then take that out of the general fund.
Yeah.
So I'm just sort of trying to swirl all this together.
Yeah.
To let you see from our point of view.
I wish that after I had sent that letter, I'll be honest, I was not expecting the response that I got from all the municipalities.
Yeah.
After I sent out that letter, I'm very thankful that I got the response that I did. But so back with what I was discussing with what Medicare is doing, we have to annually report all of our expenditures to Medicare. They've been blocking it off every year where all the ambulance providers have to do this. So my January has been consisting of crunching numbers to the point that I'm up till 11:30, 12 o'clock at night doing accounting to basically meet the deadline that I have set by Medicare.
So you don't have somewhat of an agreement like that right now with the other municipalities you serve, or do you?
We currently have a
It's like a memorandum of understanding or something?
There's an EMS tax in place in Lower Alsace at $500,000 and in Mount Penn at $250,000. And in Lower Alsace, it is basically everyone is a member. That's
right.
We still are allowed to solicit donations, but we don't solicit fund drives. And in Mount Penn, it is it's a reduced amount that they pay.
I think maybe to make life easier, we would probably say the borough will enter in some sort of agreement. You would no longer solicit in the borough because that's what we would tell the citizens.
For membership, I think we still should be able. Donate.
They would fund.
Yeah, we would want some sort of wording in there that would say, well, the borough is contributing X amount of this, so everyone is covered if you wish to still contribute or something like that. I mean, we want to get prepared
in Lower House.
Yeah.
We said it for 1,000.
Yeah.
So Lower House said basically, the municipality pays for a full membership, you're covered. If you'd like to continue to donate towards X, Y, and Z, you're going to do it.
Joan, is that something you think in your wheelhouse, if you had to come up with some sort of memorandum of understanding, or I don't want to use the word contract, but I think you hear what I'm trying to say.
I do. I what the original says, and I think I know the language to use.
Do you know approximately what percentage of our residents do have a membership?
With you having the senior living, the two senior living communities, yours are higher than Lower Alsace and Mount Penn.
And those the one is a profit and one's a nonprofit, so there's no tax per se coming in from the nonprofit.
Yeah. So I mean, I've changed how I'm tracking that a little bit, but I can certainly get you those figures based on this year.
Ballpark, are we talking 20%, 50%?
You're much up there. I would probably push you in the 50 to 55%. As far as our coverage area as a whole.
So, council jump in here. So I'm sort of saying, we understand some of our responsibilities for fire safety, things like that. It's not to our advantage for you guys to suddenly not be able to respond. And if we have to make some sort of agreement where we know this is our agreement, we fund you on a quarterly basis for this amount. We have this services essentially at the $60 plan, and you can still solicit. But everybody especially knows the borough just paid essentially for everyone to get $60 a household.
And we have,
I'm sorry, but I don't know if we can swallow $60 a household. So that's why I keep mentioning a bulk rate or something.
Yeah.
It's
The millage.
well, the millage probably won't get them what they need. This is what I'm fearful. 20, 30,000.
It has been changing as we speak. I'm trying to remember.
Well, I'm sorry, 700 times 60 is 42,000 right there, and that's the out of the world cost. So,
question.
Yeah.
You spoke of that $140,000 swing, $60,000 surplus. Pre-pandemic, I think you said.
2021 and 2022 were the big ones.
And then you went to an $80,000 deficit, so that $140,000 swing. Kind of trifecta of questions here. And then you talk about mutual aid and the insurance issues in the building.
Yeah.
Not that it's a specific number, but how much does the mutual aid and those insurance issues contribute to the negative numbers.
They contribute a lot. So we are the only discipline that I'm aware of that can be compelled to provide service without any means to be reimbursed for it. Okay? Even with exception of maybe the emergency room, but the emergency room can say, no, we're not taking care of you, get out of our emergency room. We can't do that. If you call 911 and say, I want to go to the hospital, it doesn't matter what you've called me for. I've had people call 911 because they want rides to the hospital to pick up pregnancy tests. I've had people call to the hospital because they want Tylenol. Okay, I am legally compelled by Commonwealth law to take them, regardless of whether that person has an ability to pay or not.
I think one of the things in the 21 versus 22 numbers, or 20 versus 21 numbers, was the PPP loads were in there. And that was a significant thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That we did qualify for 2 PPP loads, which balanced our budget, during the pandemic, because there was a time in the beginning of the pandemic where numbers across the board and all of EMS went down, but people were afraid to go to the hospital. So we weren't starting the calls, but we were still bringing in supplies.
Does that seem like a reasonable approach where we're gonna have some sort of I don't want to use the term basement, but some sort of threshold funding where no one in the borough really has to worry about that?
Yeah.
And that supports your operation on a more
Similar to what
lower
else is doing.
Right.
I was gonna bring the same thing up because I was talking with a member of Burnville Borough Council before, and they do the same thing with Western Berks. They pay for a subscription for everyone in the borough at a reduced from the book rate. From the MSRP.
Yeah.
And I wanted to assure the board here, so I will never, ever be willing, even if I put 1 million ambulances in service, I will never be willing to say I have 100% guarantee that I will be able to cover every single call. Okay?
We understand that.
All of the mutual aid agreements that we have require those organizations to honor our memberships. Okay, so if Exeter Town or Lifeline or Ole or the city of Reading, if they come to take a St. Lawrence resident and that, they are a member, they honor it regardless of the situation.
So does that sound,
They just keep the loss. In fairness, the times that we go to assist them,
Yeah, so
No, I know years ago it wasn't.
yeah, let me just clarify something. When Penn State's Lifeline came into Exeter, they were not doing that. We only got that agreement in place within the past year. Yeah, that allowed that to happen. They initially believed that they were not allowed to honor mutual aid agreements like that, but that has changed in mutual billing agreements. They are doing. So that's a positive change.
Is your situation as such that you see some sort of issues second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter this year? Or are you basically saying we think we're okay, but you guys, because we don't budget till November and it's a following year, plus we have cash flow, just because you say the millage is due this, we really don't see cash flow till March for the calendar year.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of asking these questions
So
from another perspective.
we're just about through. I mean, we're halfway through our first quarter. So if you could give me until your next meeting to actually go through and work those numbers. My month of January has been spent compiling all the data that I need for Medicare, and that's really good.
We probably don't even need it next month. We just probably need it by June, so we can, go down the road. But what I'm sort of just trying to make sure that if you're all coming here peachy and stuff like that, and it's really not that peachy, you sort of got to tell us or give us a hint, because then we have to think about that too.
We're treading water at the moment. It's really if we had a large unexpected expenditure that comes our way is where we're going to have trouble. And we do have lines of credit that we can tap if we need to. But right now, we're holding our own.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I do is I go to a regular joint municipal meeting where representatives from a whole variety of municipalities and townships meet once a quarter.
Yeah.
And we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and the number one topic was this issue.
Yeah.
And municipalities talking about exactly what we're talking about. And the county commissioners are gonna have a dinner shortly. At that dinner, one of the topics is gonna be this topic. And they're gonna have regional meetings, various municipalities with residents and stuff, where this is gonna be one of the topics. So it's been recognized that the county commissioner level, multiple municipalities, not just for you guys, and what triggered a lot of it is what's happening.
What I would say is, while the woes of what is involved in emergency medical services aren't directly something that you can control.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that that's not going to be an impact to you.
Now, one of the things that did come up in the meeting was, I believe it's probably more in the city is the issue, is insurance companies paying the patient, not you guys.
So to explain what that is, so there are certain insurance companies that in attempts to get the ambulance to participate with their fee schedule, they will mail the patient the payment with expectation that the ambulance then needs to seek that payment from the patient. So in order to do that, we would need to become participating providers with them, which would decrease what they're actually physically paying lower than, excuse me, and it's not sustainable. So 3 years ago, there was some change in the state code that allowed ambulance providers an easier door to become a participating provider. It didn't require all the credentialing that you needed to go through. And there was initially several ambulance providers that agreed to sign up to do it. By year 2, there were 0.
Your existing arrangements with the other municipalities, are they on a year-to-year basis? Can you guys project out, 3 years? Is there any advantage on your side of the table to say, hey, we would like a 3-year agreement and year 2 would be this potential increase and year 3 would be this? Does that help your side of the table on anything?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Matt and I, we do a lot of planning every day. The issue is there's a lot that is changing. We don't know how exactly it's changing. But I mean, that is certainly something that I could definitely invest in.
We in general have other contracts where we usually try to make it a 3-year contract, sometimes with extensions, mutually agreeable extensions, year 4 or 5, and that way it puts a burden on you guys, but suddenly gives you a little bit more insight on how to look out into the future too. So, and it gives us something where we don't have to come in every year waiting to see what it's going to be.
Yeah. I'm certain I can get stuff together. I was working on doing quarterly newsletters to all the municipalities, and unfortunately my workload became such that I wasn't able to continue that. But with some managerial changes that we've had at the top, I don't see a reason why I wouldn't be able to start doing that yet.
Greg, Mike, do you think this is something we should go down the road with?
Yeah, just a question, the issue that's happening over in Amity, if kind of a life preserver, if every municipality took on that $500,000. And like Bob said, with certain incremental increases, if you could look out that far, what would that do just for Lower Alsace? If your coverage area would entertain and enact that $500,000, would that put you ahead of what the game that you're in?
Absolutely. There are ambulance agencies in this county that get no money from their municipalities. Just being able, so the problem that we have is that our budgets are built on workloads. So the amount of as horrible as it sounds, the amount of people that are sick and injured is what's contributing to our budget. We can't predict that, we're going to have this many calls by this time with this kind of insurance company, and we can gauge it a little bit, but having that structure where I can then go back and say, okay, I have this amount that I am guaranteed, regardless of what we are doing, that I can then base off all the other budgets as far as how much my employees are getting paid, whether or not, I need to increase their insurance benefits, whether or not I need to do whatever. So yes, to answer your question, yes, it would be very hard.
So that's something like a road we want to go down and ask for some sort of information back by June or so, knowing that, November is really but if something breaks or causing you an issue that you need to come back again, sort of.
October,
What?
we have to vote on the budget.
I'm sorry, I meant June. I meant June, so we have at least 2 months to talk about it, things like that.
I'm really interested to see those numbers.
Yeah, yes, I will make sure
Really
to
think
get it.
about it until you have these times.
And if you want to convey that to our solicitor, so it's not a public record, we will certainly do that, because I consider this a negotiation of some sort,
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, very good.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay safe out there. Thanks.
Public comments. Just please just state your name, so it'll be in the record, and you have free floor.
Came to the meeting, my friend here sent out me, asked me to come. There was some talk about the borough property that's.
Yeah, we had an incident where we had some sort of hunter, and we didn't, the borough property sort of open to hunting right now, but it wasn't really good for the borough employee. Fact that it seemed like the field of view or marksmanship was towards houses, not away. And so, we don't have any type of program where we enroll or know who's up there doing that. So it's gone from like the realm of no hunting versus some sort of program. So that's sort of where historically in the last 3 months, 4 months, we've been at.
Yeah. In December, you came to the resolution that would have banned hunting. And we pushed it off.
Yeah, so from our, my viewpoint in particular, because I'm not a hunter, I'm not a fisherman, this is a big liability to the citizens, but I understand it's a sport, and I'm not going to be convinced that we have a deer herd that needs to be managed because no one told me how many deer up there, and we've never done a survey, so I'm just too analytic to hear there's too many deer. So, we need a better perspective than mine. So we appreciate that you come to the meeting and sort of say, hey, this is why we like doing it, but we could live with these things, like a registration and a release of liability, or something like that. That's sort of where the road I was headed at.
So if you're doing a release of liability, are you doing it for restricted hunting? Are you doing it for dirt bike riders?
They've already signed.
Are you doing it for?
Well, that's a good point. Hiking.
Anybody can be injured at any time doing.
Yeah, but they don't hit you. Yeah, I could see the dirt bike riders, that could sort of be a weapon, but this is something that gets discharged inadvertently.
They could, first of all, they're tearing up the property up there.
Well,
They're
they are.
They're pieces of my backyard. I would like the dirt bike banning, quite honestly, but.
But there's a lot of them that come in too when we talk about that.
But doesn't the game commission control the rules of hunting? If that person was hunting too close to the home, he should have been cited, should have been told to leave, should have been approached. It's not, you shouldn't ban all hunting because.
I agree, but see that we have to, but then it's our property, so we can enact more regulations by just saying no hunting. So if we do allow hunting, then it usually forms over into the game warden, correct? For enforcement and things like that. But we could, if we wanted to, say if the setback distance is 150 feet, we could say 300 feet or something like that. So that's where we're trying to sort of get some more feedback from those who, grind at us.
The incident that you're speaking of, so it was one incident.
Right.
Okay.
But to me, when you have to look at it from my point of view, I get a borough employee hurt by someone hunting on our thing. I'm sure my solicitor will say, where was the release of liability? You're not responsible for that borough employee. You didn't have any protection for that borough employee. So from my viewpoint, get rid of the hunting.
Well,
and they were up there doing something that they needed to be there, and then they noticed that hunter there.
Well, I guess gunning has already been, banned on borough property. But in the state of Pennsylvania, there's probably like 1 million hunters who take to the woods on the first day of rifle season.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know like how many instances there are of even a death. I mean, people don't generally shoot anybody. I mean, that would be murder. I understand you're looking out for the borough employee, and I don't know if there was any other complaint except for this one matter, but.
Yeah, but you gotta,
I just think it's a little,
I will readily admit, this is clear on this side versus this other side. But and you could ask the roadmaster, I'm continually counseling our employees when they're out in the traffic, or the high vis, or the lights on, or the lights bright enough, stuff like that. My part of my responsibility is I don't want borough employees to get hurt. And now I have a guy that's supposed to be regulated, and he's, not doing everything he knows to do in order to get his hunting license. I don't have any enforcement to even ask him, show me your hunting license and stuff like that. So, I see a high liability issue, but I'm willing to say, here's what's something that could probably help against some of that liability issue.
If you ban hunting completely, what are you gonna do to control the deer hunt? I mean, any given.
We talked about that. We could hire hunters to go do it. They'd be the only ones out there.
when it comes to archery, how should I say this? Your borough employee wouldn't even know he was in the tree. I mean, people can walk right underneath it and they don't even see me. So, I see people walking up there, I see stray dogs running around up there. I guess my point is,
And I readily admit, I haven't been up in the borough property in probably 5 years.
what's good for one person to recreate,
Right.
I mean, I think that recreation should be open to just about all facets. I mean, I just think banning hunting, period, is a little of a drastic measure to.
I agree with that point.
99.
And I don't think there's a majority of council think that way either. I'll say that. So,
I moved here 25 years ago. As a young guy, I decided to walk that hill. Came down the Water Tower Road, didn't know what I was walking. I thought I was walking on somebody's driveway. I'm thinking, okay, I'm walking down somebody's driveway. Somebody's gonna turn up here. They're gonna. I started to learn that hill. I could have probably 10 years ago walked that entire hill without a flashlight until the additional trails. I knew the boundaries. I hunted that thing for that many years with archery. I went up there now I'm saying 15 years ago. Have you had any incidents?
no.
I went up there 15 years ago, and I'm gonna tell you this, I saw so many guys, I decided to turn around and leave. Because I've been in situations like
Yeah.
that. Now, rifle hunting.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
I know we banned rifle hunting.
Nobody's up there archery.
And a lot of those guys were up in trees,
Yeah,
and it's like, wow, I'm out of here.
yeah, not a sort of a high risk situation.
So some of the issues that I've seen, number one, I've been up there multiple times, and come across people in tree stands rifle hunting in the past 3 years.
Probably not a lot,
Not a lot,
not like the.
no, not like it used to be. I agree. And I've approached them and said, hey, are you aware that rifle hunting is not allowed and stuff? And they, the next day, their stands are gone. They left. We didn't have a confrontation or anything like that. There are tree stands that people leave up there year round. We have no idea whose it is. If you leave a tree stand up in municipal.
There with the game commission, you could use the game commission because a ladder stand or a permanent
Right,
product is
it's
supposed to be tagged.
right,
Now, there are a couple up there that are tagged.
right. I know of one that's tagged.
Probably near a certain person's property.
Bill Stillman's property.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the person who owns it. I know who has it. It's not too far from me. But, I forget. I'm sorry, but I forget your first name. Dan. Yeah. Dan told me that Douglas Township has a permitting process to do hunting on their land. It's free. You go, you have to show that you have a license, your driver's license, you wear a thing that says, I have a permit to go hunting. You're allowed to go hunting in the land. You have to, agree to the,
The rules or whatever.
state game hunting rules. And, I mean, that's basically what it is. And then the township or the borough knows who's up there. And we'd say, if you're gonna have a stand, it's gotta be tagged, things like that. Not a big burden to hunting, not gonna restrict you, but at least we know who is up there, who's doing it. I mean, is that something that I think?
Well,
would
what you
help
just
to-
said, honestly is what some of the Berks County Parks are starting to do.
Right.
You need to go, actually, I think in Aldi, you have to take a test.
Right, and a lot of places, yeah, do require that you have taken a test, passed the test for archery hunting or whatever.
Yeah.
So, you know, that is sort of where my head is that we do something like that we know who's up there, whose stands they are. You know, I talked about tree stands up there, and the direction I got from people would go out there and take them down.
The question is, well, you could use the game commission to do
Yeah.
that because it's supposed to be. The question is how do you plan on policing that? Because I've been up there and I used to gun hunt in the valley.
Yeah.
And I call them the light inchworms. I tend to go up early into the woods.
Mhm.
You would be, even in the past.
Usually archery hunters go up early too.
You'd be shocked to see how many lights come over the chest from Church Lane. And they're dropping down in, and you'd be shocked to see how many lights come over. And I don't know how you would actually police some of that stuff, because through the years that I've been there, I know where most of the people are coming from. There's Church and Mountain Park. How do you?
Well, so the question is, if we had a registration process which was free, is it every year Douglas does this?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a different color tag every year or something like that.
Right, exactly.
Our employees only go up there and we only go up pretty much to the leaf dump area. You know, we don't technically run through the woods on any normal basis.
They try to avoid going through during any kind of hunting season.
Yeah.
Is that
So-
where the salt machine got waffled by the tree?
Yeah. So to answer your question, how would we enforce it? We would probably call Central Berks and say, this is our property. We have a trespasser on there because they're not supposed to be there. They're in violation of our zoning regulation.
And also in
And that's
violation,
how we would do it.
also in violation of state game.
They wouldn't state game, but we would probably
You're on
call
somebody's property.
Right,
Every year you have to get their permission.
right.
Because you got your permission 10 years ago, it doesn't give you the right to go on their property.
Well, I
this
think
year.
if you call the police, what happens is the police tell you to call the game commission. And there's only 110 game wards in the whole state.
Yeah.
So it's one of these things, it's kind of like
So we may have a plan for compliance, but I don't know how, you know, how it's all gonna work. But you know, but right now, it's probably, it needs to be somewhat tighter than what it is.
Yeah.
So we're looking for feedback on what becomes so much heartburn to you guys who want to do that versus,
Yeah,
you know,
and
my heartburn of them someone.
And I don't know in the incident with the employee, if the guy actually had a rifle or if it was archery hunting.
It was a bow or a it was a crossbow.
It's really impossible, I mean, it'd be murder if you shot somebody with a bow. It's hard enough to shoot a deer. Like, 20 yards, that's, you know, they gotta be right on the tricks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can clearly see somebody shooting it. I mean, you can clearly tell.
I have dogs that come right under my tree stand, I don't shoot them, so it's kind of like.
It's not like a rifle.
Yeah. But you know,
they don't mistake
the outlier never comes to the meeting. You know what I'm saying? You know.
Option, I guess, could possibly be is with that permit.
We had a system.
You get a
Yeah.
button, an exposable button.
Yeah, or some sort of plastic tag or something like that.
That's exactly what they do.
Yeah.
They give out, you know, yeah.
It might be something
The way
they
it-
might
put
put
on-
on to just borough residents. But the way I see it with it, I mean, I know they put out a thing for the borough residents, we have a recreation area up there. Well, the fact is, if you look at the map, there's really no way to access it except for Adam Street and maybe over Church Lane. The whole thing is like.
Well, if you go through Church Lane, you're going across private property to get it.
Oh, yeah, if you drive up, yeah, but you
So
couldn't walk up.
the funny thing is about this whole property up there and the motorcycles and it's like, and I've had people say, oh, when I first started hunting up there, the one lady, she was my own teacher, Sandy, and she like yelled at me, and then I said, oh, you remember me, and she's like, oh, it's like there's a kind of a cliquey thing in this borough that it's okay for these 10 people to do whatever they want, but we don't want everybody riding motorcycles up there, just these 10 people. So that's, you know, I know there's geocaches up there, and if you, it's a worldwide website, people put some boxes, if every minute where people find them with a GPS. Talk at the top of Adam Street, they tell you where to park, so.
If a geocacher caused our employees some issues, I would be
Yeah.
outlawing geocachers, I'll just say.
I don't think what the employee had with the issue, or
Yeah.
maybe.
You know, so I think I hear if we went to some sort of system like Douglas, that would not be so much heartburn and that could be livable, you know, and that's all we're really trying to do.
Yeah.
And we would probably not limit it to borough. I don't know if we can selectively say that anybody, it's easier to say anybody as long as they register.
Yeah, I know a guy that lives just up the street from me. He's the first house.
How's in Exeter, right?
The first house in Exeter, and he walks up to the quarry and so.
See, I have no issue where they come from as long as they sign, then we have an idea. Yeah, that could be it too, you know.
Well, there's not enough people living up there to kill this thing. I'm telling you, there's so many deer right now. You see one every time you put it about 10.
And I would love to tell you to tell me how many deer get killed per year. That's all I
I
like.
can say they're about the herd in half.
Yeah.
My girl came running out of from Grant, no, it was away and came with a deer's heart.
Maybe even next to where the billboards are, and any given day, there's at least 5 or 6 deer in our yard, every day. I mean, and they're different deer. I mean, there's stuff that come there, and I mean, you can tell that they're different. So, I mean, there's a big herd of deer right here, and if you're gonna ban hunting, then you need to do something to limit it, because not only are they gonna get hit by cars, there's, you know, they carry disease,
Yeah, we understand how one regulation causes another problem, causes another problem, causes another, you know.
And by asking you to do a permit, it's basically just having you abide by game land regulations that you have permission to be on. And you know.
And I understand if people, like private property owners, don't like people hunting because, say, a guy falls out of a tree stand. Well, today you get a lawyer and then they want to sue somebody.
Yeah, but there is state law that protects them if they have permission, the landowner.
Right.
The landowner is protected.
And we can word this, that this is us trying to follow the permission part of the state hunting regulation.
Right, and what I think we should also do is put up signs saying archery hunting by permit only, call Borough Hall.
Yeah, call or text to this number, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, something like that, so put up new signs.
Yeah. We can do that.
That would reflect that.
So if that doesn't cause too much heartburn, I think we'll go down that road. I throw my way out because it's an easy, quick solution, but I knew there'd be some other feedback.
Well, hiring snipers that kill deer sounds like pretty expensive.
We figured we get volunteers.
I do have a question in regards to the property.
Yes,
So the Lamar advertising.
yeah, they're one of our favorites.
Everyone's seen that out.
We're finished taking down those stumps. Yeah.
That one.
Is that where the tree brought down the power line?
That is Lamar property, and that is where that tree had fallen into the street. They did cut the trees down.
They left them later.
I would assume they had removed everything, but they didn't stop.
Oh no, there's a lot of stuff that's going to pile up there.
All of the trees, they cut down.
Well, that's bad.
That was too.
Well, no, Lamar cut down 9. Lamar advertising came and cut down 9 trees. And then they left them lay there, and then they didn't came and cut them. But is it ever gonna get cleaned up?
Our issue is not so much whether it gets cleaned up or not. Our issue is more that the trees fall down on the power. If the town of Borough goes out of power for a while, we actually have to be like a host of people that don't have heat and stuff like that, which is a big expense. So from my point of view, the advertising company wasn't maintaining their property cordially, and that's why. Did we send them a threatening note, Joe? Did you?
No, I called them several times. I called them several times
Yeah.
because they fell on our.
Well, I know I talked to the roadmaster about who owned the trees up there, and are they cut back adequately so this doesn't happen again? Well, I think it was the same general area, so I don't know who
It's the
owns
same,
what up
it's
there.
the same property. So Lamar.
Yeah, Lamar has the probably subleases or somebody.
It's a right of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lamar cut trees that were right behind their building there.
Mhm.
That was maybe a month and a half ago.
No, they did that, in the spring, because I had called them Cause they're dead, and I called them, and they came and cut them down after one of them fell on their property and destroyed our fence. So they came in and they cut 9 trees down like a little later.
I think they cut more down recently.
Then they came back and they cut the rest of them down, and then that end came and cleared out the rest.
They don't need to finish. Actually, the trees laying down and all those brush piles are good for habitat for the.
Yeah, sure.
It's gonna bushel in and they cut all the trees down, so now we get some in the pool. They should, I was wondering why they got those stumps and they just didn't finish taking those ones that stick up, like, kind of like.
Yeah.
I think they were ash trees are the ones that were there.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of.
Oh, then they figure the Emerald Borough will get them sooner or later.
Yeah,
No, they're dead already.
I get it.
We seem to have frustrations with several agencies all the time. One is PennDOT, the other one's Med Ed, over little things like this where it doesn't seem like it ever gets to the right person or it never gets the right response.
Well, they knocked that tower down. Did they ever come up?
That's because they put new towers in.
I know, they've been there for a while.
And it's still a dormant line,
Yeah.
right?
No, the tower is for a term.
Okay.
The section going through our property is dormant.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
And they took a lot, you know.
Well, I know they replaced the tower there, you know, right across the creek. You know, they put a brand new tower in for a dormant line. So, you know, something's going on. So, all right. Well, if you have any questions, contact Warren, because he's sort of our liaison for all this. All rightful criticisms go ahead, so. Righteous criticism. But I think we're gonna work down a plan similar to those. You know, for registration.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I talked to them, and they were very helpful and.
Yeah, and we work our magic trying to get that area cleaned up of trees.
And there's some that the hunters that have, you know, gotten the permits, then say, hey, if you get a permit, you gotta get a permit done on it. You know, that way.
I don't see us sending borough employees up there to look for facts. I'll just say that. Right? Yeah, it's not gonna.
So, but we should have repercussion if there's somebody.
Right, I mean, and I'm sure our solicitor would be, you know, slamming her fist on here about risk and, you know, it needs to be managed in a better way, so.
And one of the things, Joan, that Douglas also did is they put it in their ordinance, so they did have some teeth for the police to respond.
Yeah, right. So we're gonna try to round this all up and through the solicitor, and you'll probably see action in the next couple months on
Before the hunting season.
Yeah. So,
Which is September.
and we appreciate your time coming in on this too.
Yes, thank you.
For engineer, you got anything to report?
Other than what's in my report, I don't have anything else to do that.
Solicitor, anything new?
We received from Exeter School District a pre-trial memo and assessment appeal because we had appeared at the initial level of appeal before the board. They are seeking reduction to assess value of $1,691,000.
Is this their property, Exeter?
No, this is Antietam Valley Shopping.
Oh, shopping center.
Yeah, this is, so we received their withdrawal memo at Antietam Valley Shopping Center and filed an assessment appeal.
Really? After all your testimony at the assessment hearing board?
I guess it didn't work, but anyway, they reduced it to $1 million. Fair market value of $4,217,000. And they were seeking a further reduction to $1,691,800, which translates to a fair market value or market value of $3,759,000.
So Exeter's appealing that second reduction?
No, it's not Exeter. The shopping center believes there should be a further
Reduction.
Yeah. And the school district wants it kept at the current.
Yeah, at the current rate, and we probably do too. So do we need to, since we authorized her to go before at the initial assessment hearing, is council?
No, you
Don't need you?
you don't need to because school district.
Okay.
It's gonna be the one fighting
Good for them.
it. And my other item is under new business.
Sounds good. The mayor's not here, so we'll skip over him. Borough zoning code enforcement officer's report. Nothing really to talk about, or you want to talk about the zoning hearing board?
That's
Executive, can do.
There are two zoning permit, residential zoning permit issues.
No, Roadmaster, what's new?
I have a report in the packet. I did reach out to PennDOT involving the two grants that are questioning things that. The first one had.
These are the handicap access ramps.
So the handicap ramps and things like that. The state sent me back an email saying that the ADA ramp at Prospect is ADA compliant in all aspects and will function properly as designed. So they are ensuring that that is indeed ADA compliant.
No, they're just making that statement. They don't have any proof that really it meets compliance, but go ahead.
Well, they said they reviewed it. They also said that the ramp at Adams Street is not complete yet. They still need to do final repairs, that including a sheet wall, which I guess will happen in the springtime. And then
What is a sheet? Well, you mean they're gonna hold the dirt back behind it?
I would assume that.
Yeah, on Adams?
Yeah, right there at the corner, the first one here on the right.
Yeah.
You turn up Adams.
Interesting.
I am not sure what they're doing. It's quite interesting.
Ask them for a drawing, what they're gonna do.
I think it's the third time I've asked for a drawing. They seem to not want to.
Okay.
Well, what they're gonna give you, they'll give you a project scope and it'll tell you what type of ramp per intersection.
But this is the sheet wall, is what I'm asking for.
Cheap,
Cheap?
as in cheap.
As in cheek.
Oh, cheap.
Cheap. Because of the low percentage slope, when they're below grade, usually at the lawns or anything, they have to retain the lawn elevation, they put cheap walls. And sometimes the sidewalks lower than the curb, and they'll put a cheap wall there too to retain the grassy areas.
Okay.
And that's about it for my report, other than winter's still slow, and we still have quite the stockpile of salt.
Not a problem. We love salt.
So,
I don't think they-
Nobody else had to buy salt, just us.
I can report that lower houses in Mount Penn are in crisis of having to take PennDOT as the CoStar contract requires you to take 60% of the salt that you bid in for the year. And because we've had no winter time, they are trying to just stuff it into their salt bins. Otherwise, they have to pay for it even if they don't take it.
Oh,
Yes, that's why we don't do PennDOT.
That's the benefit of the county contract. You can estimate how much you want, but there's
no requirement to take.
Yes.
Yeah. Are they gonna get mad at our salts over there? Say, St. Lawrence, get rid of your salt so we can put our salt in?
I haven't heard anything, so.
That's how I would think. All right. Anything from finance? No. Anything from manager's report? No. Emergency management, anything?
nothing to report.
Library, anything?
No.
Ms. Valance, could you send that stuff from Douglas to the solicitor for Hunter registration? And we'll have her sort of whip something up and for next meeting.
Yeah, it needs some modification because they do allow shotgun and things like that. But,
If you use that as a template with our request. Is there anything else, Ms. Valance? Nope,
that's,
recreation, anything new?
Playground leaders,
You have them or you don't?
We do have.
we do have them.
Oh my goodness, I would have lost that bet.
Should have bet with Brad.
All three.
Good, excellent.
Real good, actually, ton of sense.
One good one at least, right? Planning Commission, anything new? Nope, zoning hearing board, we're gonna talk a little bit about that in executive session. And what else is next on the back page?
Fire advisory board is, because I thought that they.
They voted on it.
To reenact the fire advisory board, that's where it sort of sits there.
Okay,
So we're just tabled yet.
yeah, just keep that on there. Yeah,
So,
so general comments by anybody for anything?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mr. Doc Eisenman, or not Eisenman.
Iverson.
Had a stroke. And I was talking to his wife, and he's lost function. He's pretty much paralyzed on the left side of his body, and may have to go into a nursing home.
I saw him walking his dog recently, very slowly, and Dad always talked to him, and, he seemed like he wanted to talk more than I wanted to talk, but that's beside the point. Can we make sure we send some flowers or something, maybe to his home or some sort of fruit basket or something like that? He's a former mayor and council person, I believe.
Yep.
So something commensurate with those two things.
Walking the dog, ironically asking about
which one of the neighbors had just passed. She wanted to send her.
Oh, that was Tracy, you mean? Yeah. And so, all right. All public meetings, St. Lawrence Borough Hall, council meeting on March 9th, 7:30, borough offices closed February 20th. Statement of financial interest due by May 1st, which you've got in your folder, fill that out for last year, is that correct? All right, old business table, the Exeter Township Fire Advisory Board, and at this point, under new business, I want to have an executive session, let's have a discussion of motion authorize the borough solicitor, borough engineer to attend zoning hearing board hearing. We have a zoning hearing board application. I'm not so sure it should be going to the zoning hearing board because and Ty can help me out on this. It doesn't have a lot of information to ask exactly what type of variances it wants.
Do you want to discuss that?
I don't know. We may discuss this in an executive session. In general, we tend to send the solicitor to zoning hearing boards because they're the wild card of all borough stuff because they have their own solicitor. There's 3 people. I couldn't even pick them out in the crowd. And if they decide to give the guy relief, that's it. The borough has no choice. So in general, it makes sense for us to always send a solicitor to represent the borough, to present the borough's point of view, which is we never want variances because our zoning and code is so great that there should never be a variance. But that's not really true, but that's the position we take.
For many cases.
Yeah, you know, but you just can't say this is really a hardship on me. I mean, that's in the borough code, there is no such thing as this is bad for me.
My only comment to that is you say the solicitor will be going in representing us. If us haven't had a discussion as to what the variance is about,
well,
then how can we give direction as our viewpoint on that issue?
This is a litigation matter and certainly a potential litigation matter because it can end up in court. So I would suggest discussion in executive.
Yeah, I would just generically saying.
I was saying generically before, we've always sent one to them, but we'll talk in, this is one of the topics in our executive session.
Yeah.
But I was also going to suggest that we send our engineer to the zoning hearing board because it's, and we'll talk a little bit more. So anyway,
we can decide that after we have.
Yeah, we can decide that as an action on it afterwards. So, is there a motion to go in executive session to discuss litigation and a zoning hearing?
Yeah, first amend the agenda for an executive session.
Do we have an executive session?
It's on,
We just don't have.
we have it for one topic, but not for a second topic.
It's for litigation.
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to include potential litigation in the executive session.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Motion moved second to amend the agenda to go to executive session for 2 topics, litigation, potential litigation, and the stated joint municipal operations. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion passes.
Make a motion to enter executive session to discuss joint municipal operations and potential litigation.
Motion moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion passes.
Now we gotta wait. for-
We'll wait about 60 seconds while the roadmaster runs down and turns off the live roll light.
Well,
Yeah, we should walk there.
I'm
No indication if we're live, I guess.
No.
That's all right, go ahead.
You ran them.
Yeah, I'm here.
Now we're out of executive session, I'll make a motion to authorize the borough solicitor, borough engineer to attend the zoning hearing board hearing
When scheduled.
when scheduled.
There's a second?
Second.
Motion been moved, seconded to have the borough solicitor, borough engineer attend the zoning hearing board, zoning
Hearing board.
hearing board
Hearing.
when scheduled. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, all opposed, motion
Okay,
passes.
what I'll do is I'll contact the zoning hearing solicitor, let him know that.
You're attending and witnesses.
I did send him,
Let us know
info.
so that we can schedule.
There a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second, motion, second, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed.
Yeah.
You guys
Time
gotta
to go
get,
home and have a scotch.
you guys gotta get your thinking caps on here for next time.
There's no budget.